haircut. We look a lot better. I mean, I love your haircut. And anyway.
The Paul Feinbaum Show. Weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and on the SEC network.
When the Stanley Cup playoffs begin on ESPN, anything is possible. So the decorations could get a little out of hand. And a city could get a new landmark. Could the freak flag fly? Could the storm surge? Could it happen for the first time? Could it happen again? Yeah, that could happen. That is playoff hockey. The Stanley Cup playoffs continue on ESPN.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
Mel Kiper Jr. I got news for the world, guys. The 2023 NFL Draft begins when I come on with Key, J. Will, and Max. That's when it begins. Okay? Let's just get that straight. It begins today.
Wake up and get up with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
You guys are the superstars of ESPN, the most knowledgeable radio show. You guys are superstars.
Click that, and we need to continue to play that during break.
That's right. G.J. and Max. Weekday morning starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
I'm trying to be careful to not let my bias leak in too much because I have some Lamar bias. But am I wrong to think that he deserves what Jalen Hurts has gotten?
Check out the Dominique Foxworth Show anywhere you get your podcast.
Tuesday on Kempty and Carlin, Aaron Rodgers is finally a Jet, but why did they get the wrong guy? And can they really compete with the Chiefs in the AFC? It's all on Kempty and Carlin, 3 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday on ESPN Radio.
Coming to you live from the Superbook Sports Studios in Kettering. You're listening to Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, everybody, welcome in. Kinner and Kev live here on a Tuesday. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash live on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. Mr. Kev Nash, welcome.
What up, though?
Excited for today's show. A lot to get into. We're just a couple days away from the first round of the NFL draft, as we've talked about all week. Really, for the last 2 weeks, I'm over the draft talk. I'm over it all. Aaron Rodgers officially, a New York Jet.
Finally.
The trade went official yesterday. Right before the show started, so that was good. Tired of talking about the woulda, coulda, shouldas, or what could happen and all this stuff. Now Lamar Jackson's on the clock as far as that's concerned to see what happens there. The Reds got a big walk-off win last night against a very good Texas Rangers team, and just when this team starts to look like they're unraveling, that's the kind of win, not just a win, but the kind of win last night could propel the Reds on a little bit of a run. We'll even talk Guardians coming up around the corner. That's a team that actually wins in Ohio, but they're struggling to score some runs right now. You see some of the issues that the Reds and the Guardians kind of share, except one team's trying, the other one not so much. NBA playoffs last night. very good games. It was actually one of those where my sleeping pill kicked in, and at a certain point, I was fighting the sleeping pill to watch LeBron and the Lakers come out on top late at night in overtime over the Grizz. That was a good one. And then there's a guy that Kev Nash just loves to talk about all the time that I roll my eyes at. Not really roll my eyes at because I do like Jimmy Buckets, but he was all buckets last night.
Oh my goodness,
Jimmy Butler was unreal.
Crazy fourth quarter. I mean, they were down 12 halfway through the fourth quarter, and he checks back in the game basically with like 7 minutes to go, and this goes completely crazy. Scoring, playing defense, just doing what he does. I bring this up all the time when I say like, man, Jimmy Butler is like one of those dudes, and he's good, but I mean, he's not one of those guys. And I tell them, like, so just to make sure the bubble championship counts, right? Of course it counts. Absolutely it does. Look at his numbers and LeBron's numbers in that finals. They are identical. They are identical from the scoring, from the rebounding, from the assists, from the shooting percentage. He played LeBron even. LeBron, obviously, MVP of the finals. But the Lakers won that because of AD. Because Jimmy and Bron canceled each other out. So Jimmy Butler definitely put on a show, and now they're up 3-1 over the number 1 seed, not just in the East, but the entire NBA. Oh boy.
And it's not just Jimmy Butler's performance. It's very, you bring up LeBron James. It reminds me of that very first Cavs run, the very first finals appearance for LeBron and the Cavs. Would that have been 2006 or 2000? It'd have been 2006 or 7 or whatever. But either way, that was with like Boobie Gibson and guys like that.
Yeah.
That was just a horrible roster. I mean, it was just one of those where maybe it wasn't the worst roster in the world, but it was an NBA Finals roster.
Right.
This Heat team has no business being where they're at, up 3-1 against the number 1 seed in the entire playoffs. It's 4 undrafted dudes that are getting the majority of the minutes because Oladipo goes down, and then obviously
Tyler Hero, broken hand. Yeah,
so,
there's a lot of the Vincent dude undrafted, Duncan Robertson undrafted. It's a whole bunch of guys out there with Jimmy Butler and Bam. And they're up. And one of the things about Bam, he does the quote unquote best defensive job you can on Giannis. So while he's doing that good job, even though Giannis went for a triple-double last night, Brook Lopez went for like 37. So when they have Brook Lopez doing that, you obviously think that they're going to win, and they control most of the game. Beyond most of the game, it was tight in the first quarter when Jimmy scored 20 points in the first quarter, and then kind of like slowly but surely, the Bucks as a team started to take over Drew Holiday and everything like that. And then I'm like, all right, I'm getting ready for the next game. I'm cooking dinner or whatever, not really paying attention. And the wife was like, hey, you better come in here. I'm like, what's going on? Yo, dude going crazy again. And I'm like, uh-oh. Doing that classic, get his 2 feet in the paint, head fake, foul, and 1. 2 feet in the paint, head fake, bucket. Then he started hitting threes. And I'm like, uh-oh. It's happening. It's about to be one of those nights. And it was definitely one of those fourth quarters where he dropped, 22 in the fourth quarter in 7 minutes?
I remember watching Dwayne Wade back when he had Shaq and they were in the NBA Finals against the Dallas Mavericks. That was there's about the best performance in Miami Heat history. That has to be up there just because the circumstances of the team not being very good around him. Now, if that would have came on a game where they clinched the series and move on, but I think because Dwayne Wade's performance, where he was just, that was his coming out game too, even though he was a star all year, but that coming out like, oh, he's a superstar, like not just a sidekick to Shaq, like it was, okay, he's for real. And because that was in the finals, but either way, a very fun playoff first round. With all as fun as all these first round matchups are, possibility of no 7-game series at all is also it's the most entertaining first round that will not have a 7-game series unless the Cavs come all the way back, unless we're talking about the Bucks come all the way back.
Right.
So
that's the most likely one to happen to get to 7 games. I think we got 3 game 5s tonight. I think they all get closed out.
Yeah,
they all get closed out tonight.
So for you sports bettors out there, Celtics, Nuggets, Suns. I'm sorry. I'd just pick all winners. I think it'd be that favorable of a line, but it's a safe one.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, as far as that's concerned. But Hawks, Celtics tonight. Timberwolves, Nuggets. That's the second game on NBA TV. That's a 9:00 tip, and then Clippers, Suns, which should be one of, if not the best series of the first round. And there's a lot of really good ones. That one's just depleted because of injuries.
Yeah.
And it's the Russell Westbrook show, which is cool seeing him have a first, a breakout series, but a lot of that's coming just without. People water it down, and I've heard it already today. Well, yeah, but the thing with him is when you let him cook, he could put up the numbers.
Right.
But they're down 3-1. When you put him with stars around him, that style of his play, it conflicts with other guys, and it keeps the rhythm and flow of games going. So, but he's having fun. So
he's having fun, and he's actually knocking down shots. He's actually
50% from three.
He's knocking down shots. And you're right about Russ, about the whole situation. Like when you like surround him with others, and I think he's definitely played better, especially in game one where he wasn't looking to score. Everything was going through Kawhi. Basically, games 1 and 2, everything was going through Kawhi, and he was just basically playing almost free safety on defense and just running all over the court, almost like a boxing one. Like, hey, man, you just do whatever you want to do out there. And on defense, he was causing havoc, and he was making a big impact. And he's made an offensive impact in the 2 games in LA, but they haven't been able to win those games. So now they're down 3-1, headed back to Phoenix.
Kenner and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. NFL Draft coming up this Thursday nights right here on 1410 Wing AM. And keep in mind, first round, but the draft goes all the way into the weekend, and this is such a huge deal. Obviously, it's in Kansas City this year, and teams actually, they bid for this thing. It's like a huge deal, which is pretty cool. But I wanted to, I put the NFL music in the back for those tuning in, just joining us, Kenner and Kev, 1410 Wing AM. Every year around the draft time and in any sport, I always pitch an idea that I'm when we talk about tanking, I'm not going to reiterate a lot of the same points I regurgitate a lot of times, but we talk a lot about, the tanking and how tanking is bad and how these professional leagues pretend to really be outraged when teams tank and purposely lose, like the Dallas Mavericks when they sat guys knowing that they had a chance to still compete to get into the play-in, and how the NBA was investigating it. And I rolled my eyes at that because I'm like, you gotta stop. I mean, you're literally watching almost half your league tank, and you're watching them do it for this kid that's coming over from overseas. I forgot Wemble. I can't pronounce
Victor. It. I can't say the last name.
Wendeline or something like that. I mean,
Big Vic.
There we go. So that's why I don't get mad when the Dolphins thing last year came out to the year before. About investigating them into tanking, and I'm like, I know it was a little bit more serious because they're actually giving incentives to the coaches to lose, but I mean, ultimately, it's all the same thing. They're getting paychecks to lose. It's basically the same thing. So I've always said you can't get mad at teams who tank when, as a sport, you reward the worst teams in the sport. It benefits to lose. You win 2 games, you get a Joe Burrow and a T. Higgins. You win 4 games, you get a Jamar Chase. And by the way, Bengals fans get mad when I point that out. I'm just localizing it because it's a recent example of, if it wasn't for winning 2 games and winning 4 games, you're not Super Bowl contenders. You're not in the position you're in. But it paid to stink. But what about the teams that actually try? The Detroit Lions last year went 9-8. They were the first team eliminated from the playoffs. Kev Nash's Pittsburgh Steelers, 9-8. The Washington Commanders, 8-1. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 8-9. The Patriots, 8-9. The Green Bay Packers, 8-9. I bring all that up because it actually is like the more you win, the worse you are when you're in this situation. Because what I get tired of is I give the Lions credit. They busted their ass all season. They tried. And then you look up at the top of the draft, who's picking number 1 overall, and it's like, oh, yeah, you have the Bears who traded back. We have Carolina. You have the Texans. You have teams who were bad, who didn't put in the effort or didn't try to play above and beyond who they are. They said, hey, we're going to stink. We're going to lose on purpose so that we can get some really good players, try to get a quarterback, and there you go. My suggestion to fix this all along has always been to flip the order of the draft, that the number 1 overall pick should go to the team that was the first eliminated from the playoffs. And the reason that is because when you look at the teams in the middle of the league that barely missed the playoffs, a competitive Lions and a competitive Steelers team, both at 9-8, even the Dolphins Dolphins, Seahawks are in the playoffs, but the Lions, Steelers, 9-8. Those 2 teams now are in the middle of the pack to the draft. They're not going to get as beneficial of a draft pick as what they should. Now the Lions have others because of trades and stuff. But I bring this up because those teams should be rewarded for trying. Mike Tomlin didn't say, you know what, we're going to lose on purpose so that we can get a better wide receiver or better offensive lineman, better defenders, better this. He said, no, we're going to do everything we can to win. We're not Super Bowl contenders, and it's almost like you're doing yourself a disservice by winning games and finishing 9-8. And I feel like the Lions and Steelers, they did a disservice to their franchise because, hey, if you're going to lose and win by losing, and that's not what happened. But what I would do is flip the order of the draft. The number 1 overall pick should go to the Lions. The number 2 overall pick should go to the Steelers and the Commanders, the Bucks and the Patriots and the Packers. All super competitive teams last year that just fell short. Those teams should be rewarded for trying and not tanking and not quitting and not giving up. And the reason I bring this up is because can you imagine, Kev, the Detroit Lions with the number 1 overall pick, with all the talent that they have on offense, with everything that they have on defense, either they like Jared Goff, but I highly doubt it. If they had the number 1 overall pick, imagine them taking Bryce Young. Imagine them taking C.J. Stroud. Imagine the Pittsburgh Steelers, who you may be fine with Kenny Pickett, but if you were the number 1 overall or number 2 overall pick, are you picking over Kenny Pickett? What are you doing there?
No, I'm trading the pick. I'm a jack somebody that desperately needs a quarterback, and I'm gonna get multiple first-round picks for him.
And I bring this stuff up because the middle of the league, they're a lot further along, which means they're 1 or 2 pieces away from being legitimate contenders.
Right.
The teams that made the playoffs, they're already solid. Their rosters are very good. At the middle of the pack, they're just missing a couple pieces. Give them those great pieces coming out of college. Now you have great rosters at the top who made the playoffs. You've improved the middle of your league drastically, and now the best players are going there. And that's where you end up. You send quarterbacks to better situations. Now the Commanders, it's a revolving door out there. But imagine them getting a C.J. Stroud or a Bryce Young. Same thing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the New England Patriots, the Packers.
They don't need a quarterback. They got your guy.
Baker Mayfield, yes. And Baker, I trust. So with that criticism, Kev always comes, well, what do you do with the teams at the bottom? Then they're going to be even worse. Folks, let me ask you, Kev, if the Chicago Bears knew that it does not pay to be 3-14, do you think they try a little harder in free agency? Do you think that they try, maybe not competing to win the Super Bowl, but you know what? We need to add some key free agents so that we can be in that 7-8 win range and be in the mix for a top 5 pick. I think it makes your entire league from top to bottom super competitive. Your Super Bowl contenders fighting to win the Super Bowl. Your playoff contenders fighting to make the playoffs. Your fringe teams still not giving up, not quitting. Week 17, not resting, guys, because if we can get this win, that improves our chances of getting. Now you have good quality football all year round. I know the NFL doesn't need that much help, but I do like this method. I think it would be a lot better, but it is what it is.
It's very college-esque where the rich get richer, because I don't think anybody out there in their right mind thinks like, oh, man, let's help the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, man, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they had Duck Hodges out there, and they still almost went to the playoffs. They almost went to the playoffs this year, and they had a rookie quarterback for half the year and Mitchell Trubisky for half the year. I don't think anybody out there thinks the Pittsburgh Steelers need any more help. I don't think anybody thinks the New England Patriots need any more help. Like, they were in the hunt to make the playoffs as well. So that's almost like, hey, man, the Ohio State Buckeyes, they really need help on the recruiting trail. Georgia really needs help on the recruiting trail. Let's make sure we help them out. I just think that if you take away the opportunity for a bad team out there to get better instantly, you're going to lose a lot of fans. I think you're going to lose a lot of fans from fan bases that already are inept. And think about it. You're a fan of the Cleveland Browns. They were a team that lost every game that they played in recent history. So have the Detroit Lions. But what did the fan base have to clamor on to? Like, oh, now we got the first overall pick. What are we going to do with that first round pick? Are we going to draft a quarterback? Are we going to draft the anchor of the offensive line? Are we going to trade that pick in order to get a whole bunch of other picks? I mean, it keeps people invested. The draft keeps all the bad teams invested all season long to just watch, while the middle teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers keep us invested, because on any given Sunday, you have no idea what they're going to do. They may go out there and turn Joe Burrow over 4 times and win by a point. Like week one. Like week one, yeah. So like those type of things happen in the NFL. And I just think that if you take that away, you take that opportunity away from bad teams, you'll never get it back. This will turn it in. That's what makes the NFL different from the NBA. In the NBA, teams aren't going to get better. Look, you know I love Dame Dollar. They are never going to win an NBA championship in Portland. Before Giannis showed up to Milwaukee, I would have bet you my life they would never win another NBA championship. Before LeBron James showed up to the Cavs, I would have bet you my life they would have never won an NBA championship. But you see the caliber of player you have to literally luck out to get to come to your franchise. I think you start doing stuff like that in the NFL, you're going to start seeing teams like the Portland Trailblazers, like the Bucks, like the Cavs, before they got their transcendent player. You're going to see those type of teams, and I think you're going to lose a lot of fans if you do that, because they'll look at it like they have no hope. Like these teams have no hope before these type of players show up at all.
Well, I see what you're saying to a certain point, but the difference is in the NFL, what I'll give the NFL is this. The reason the NFL thrives is we consider Mike Brown a cheap owner, but he still spends money. Cheap owners in the NBA don't try. Cheap owners in Major League Baseball, like the Reds, they don't try. To the NFL's credit, they try. So that's why I said at the bottom of the league, those who would not get those top draft picks, Now the motivation is, okay, now we don't want to get better by being bad. Now it's okay, we got to get better by being good. So guess what? We're going to go spend in free agency. Like teams like the Houston Texans and others, the Bears, they didn't even try spending money in free agency like last year, and even some teams this year setting up to fail this year. It is because, well, we're not going to add good players to our roster because we're not good. We know we're not going to compete this year. But if you're competing to even be that 7, 8, 9 win team to be in the mix for top draft picks, I just think it makes it healthier from top to bottom. If the NFL was like the NBA in that regards, where there's so many teams who don't want to spend, or the free agents will go anywhere. The free agents go into Cincinnati because Joe Burrow's there. Free agents go to Cleveland. That's not the case in the NBA. I mean, the NBA is a little bit, I mean, they had to trade to get Donovan Mitchell. It would have been more of a landmark situation had Donovan Mitchell had all these offers to go to the Knicks and chose the Cavs over them. It was a trade. So the NFL's a little different. You can get, I mean, Orlando Brown chose to go to Cincinnati. So that's what I mean by that is free agents will go play anywhere in this league.
Yes.
And teams have to spend a certain amount of money. So that's why the NFL's not broken, by the way. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think that this method I pitched wouldn't work in the NBA because the owners would cheap their way out of it. At the end of the
I
day.
think the person or the people that would benefit the most from what you're proposing is the players. By far, the players that are coming out of college. You think about a quarterback, if you're going to the Pittsburgh Steelers or another team that was 8-8, or I keep saying 8-8, 8-9 or 9-8 or whatever, they're going to a situation for a team that's ready to win. It's going to help them out as a player. It's going to help them succeed automatically off the rip. And it's going to help out veteran players as well, because if you're forcing them and them being bad teams to spend extra money on veteran players just for a chance to be a team that's 500 in the NFL to get a better draft pick, they're going to love it. The players are going to love it. I'm not sure of that. The fans will love it because all they're going to look at is like, wait, we gave Zeke the 3-year deal for $20 million and he's only putting up 500 rushing yards. We're not even using them. Like, you're going to get a backlash towards the players and ownership as well, because it definitely for the first couple years you will. I just think that if it's not broke, don't fix it.
All right, 518-1410. Thoughts on this proposed? Again, if you're just joining us real quick, instead of the number 1 overall draft pick going to the team with the worst record, the number 1 overall draft pick, flip the order, should go to the first team that missed the playoffs. Benefit or reward the teams who tried to win. The Detroit Lions and Pittsburgh Steelers, both 9-8 this season. They should be rewarded. They shouldn't be, oh, you missed the playoffs and you get, a middle of the pack draft pick as opposed to the top talents coming out. They should be rewarded for winning. Instead, Houston, who didn't even try to win last year, they're getting the top, this number 2 pick. Carolina, of course, I mean, the Bears were pretty bad too. And they had Justin Fields and they had one wide receiver and traded him away last year to the Rams, which is now a Steeler and Allen Robinson.
Welcome.
And that team got rewarded with the number 1 overall pick and got a bunch of other draft picks and a top wide receiver from the Panthers in this deal that they got to get that number 1 overall pick. So my point, it makes so we'll talk about this. 518-1410. Thoughts on this? Damon Hahn, he messages in. Justin, I think your proposal on draft order makes a ton of sense. Reward the teams that tried to win. Let's see. Mark Smith says you win 1 playoff game in 20 years and sell the farm to get a has-been quarterback. What did I do? What? Ryan Holzapple. So what happened to all the top picks the Browns have had the last 10 years? What did I do, guys? What did I do, Kev? On a scale of 1 to 10, how behaved was I in that segment? I didn't say anything wrong.
No, you good. You were good.
Yeah, see? Bite me, huh? No.
Until now.
It might have been when I said the Bengals got rewarded. If you guys are sensitive to that, that's just too dang bad. I mean, you literally stunk so bad. You guys weren't even rebuilding. That wasn't even tanking. You guys were actually supposed to be better that year that you won 2 games. You were just horrible. I mean, like, you can get mad at me now, but my point is the Browns went 0-16, and they got rewarded for it. Now, Baker Mayfield's not Joe Burrow, but they got Chubb. They got Denzel Ward. They got a lot out of being 0-16. So it's okay. I'm not saying it hasn't benefited my team. It hasn't benefited my team as much as it's benefited the Bengals, but congrats on stinking and being rewarded for it. Now, if I'm going to, now it's Ryan and Mark. They're cool. I could say good morning and they'll have a Browns thing to come at me with every time. Never fail. All right. 518-1410. Kenner and Kev. We'll be right back.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather. All
Our forecast is calling for a chance of showers and 36 tonight. Mostly sunny. 60 for today, Wednesday. Thursday, sunshine and 64. I'm Rick Schrepp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/FREE. ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Tens of thousands affected by the toxic water at Camp Lejeune are left with death, cancer, Parkinson's, dementia, birth defects, and other serious illnesses. And along with the harm, so many worries.
My family drank the Camp Lejeune water. What if our health gets worse and we need more financial help?
How do I protect my VA benefits and get the compensation I deserve and need?
The answer is simple. Call James Harris Law, the experienced, trusted law firm that can get you significant compensation while protecting all your VA benefits. We're already fighting for hundreds of Marines, families, and civilians who drank Camp Lejeune water. But if you miss the deadline, you could forever lose your right to the justice you deserve. So call our Camp Lejeune legal helpline now. Now may be your last chance to receive full compensation. Don't delay. Call 800-368-5588. That's 800-368-5588. 800-368-5588.
Want to experience a truly unbeatable trio? Stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and try a 3-piece strips meal at a great price. You'll get 3 of our freshly marinated honey-dipped premium strips, 1 famous dipping sauce, 2 unbeatable sides, and a fluffy biscuit. It's the trifecta of craveable chicken. Discover why premium strips make the perfect meal. Pick up a 3-piece strips meal from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Protect vehicles, outdoor equipment, and more with Shelter Logic storage products. Menards carries a great selection of easy-to-assemble canopies, shelters, and garages that hold up against the elements. Right now, get a 10 by 12-foot round-top shelter for only $279.99 after 11% off. Good through April 30th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
If you haven't been to Chevrolet of Troy, you have to stop in today. What makes us different? A state-of-the-art dealership offering experience, service, parts, and body shop. We're the only dealership in Miami County with an on-site body shop, and we make it easy with experienced, tenured professionals ready to answer your questions and diagnose your vehicle quickly. Our priority is customer service. Make Chevrolet of Troy your first choice for service, parts, and body shop. 1375 South Market Street and online at ChevroletofTroy.com.
With over 15 years of experience as your local lawn health provider, Lawn Plus knows what it takes to provide a thick, healthy lawn. We offer fertilization and weed control programs, aeration and seeding, as the best defense against weeds is a thick turf. If your current lawn care company is providing 6 to 8 applications, that is far too many. We offer the highest quality products and service to get the best results in just 4 applications a year. Call us today at 937-839-LAWN, and remember, if you give a weed an inch, it'll take a yard.
In business, everything your employees do impacts your brand, including what they wear. Cintas has high-performance workplace apparel for almost every job imaginable. From work shirts and pants, to polos and khakis, to Oxfords or T-shirts, these clothes move, breathe, and look great. Your team gets the styles they like, you convey the image you want. And Cintas service includes weekly laundry and delivery. To learn more, visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
At the United States Postal Service, we're reinventing our network to help keep your business moving. With new shipping options to deliver better value, greater flexibility to conveniently reach your customers, more confident shipping with new informed delivery features, and new electric vehicles for a cleaner, brighter future. Fast, reliable, perfectly orchestrated. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America. Learn more at USPS.com/moving forward.
Shop Springfest at Lowe's and get the best values of the season before they're gone. Save on select major kitchen appliances, outdoor power equipment, and more. Shop Lowe's today.
Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Kenner and Cav live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. So we opened up the show. We'll get into some NBA playoffs coming up around the corner with the Cavs, especially being back in action, not tonight, but tomorrow night. We'll get to that in a moment. The Cavs have to win 3 straight to extend the series. What's ticking me off even more about the Cavs, Kev, is that I'm watching how the rest of the playoffs are unfolding. I didn't like their chances against Milwaukee anyways, but I mean, I know how good Jimmy Butler is, but I like the Cavs' chances against the Heat a lot better. And now all of a sudden, it's looking like you're going to get potentially Heat-Knicks semifinals. And that's a wild series right there, just the history of those two teams in the playoffs. That's going to be wild. But you're going to potentially either have Jimmy Butler in the Eastern Conference Finals or the New York Knicks. And the NBA is just better when the Knicks, when the Lakers, when those teams are involved. You don't want it every year. I get that. That's why people like the parity a little bit. This is the most parity-driven NBA that I can remember in quite some time.
Yeah, for sure. You talk about like what's going on with the Cavs. I was actually just looking at them play so much on Friday and just looking how Darius Garland was struggling. And you're right, things have opened up for other teams, quote unquote, lesser teams, because Milwaukee is up against it now. They got to win 3 in a row in order to advance. So even if they are capable to pull that off, you got Giannis dealing with the back situation. Is that going to be able to hold up? So things have opened up, but I think it's opened up for the other team the most, and the other team would be the Boston Celtics or Philadelphia, because they won't have to go up against that beast named Giannis if they don't make it out this first round at all.
And these are all blue bloods that would potentially be left, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it's Heat versus Celtics or Heat versus Philly, or if it's Knicks versus Philly. I mean, like, Kev, like that's that's like kind of like March Madness when you get like the Dukes and Kentuckys and Carolinas. It does mix, mixes it up a bit when you get those non-traditional teams there. But this is pretty fun watching these playoffs. I have no clue who's going to come out. It's Milwaukee at first, but now it's like it's anyone's game, and it's not that bad in the West either. Kev, let me ask you this: some people on Twitter I was following along, and they were like, "Man, we want Ja Morant against the Kings, against De'Aaron Fox, Ja Morant. That's what the NBA wants." And I'm like, I think what the NBA wants is those teams of the future, yes. But I was like, I don't know. Is that what the NBA? I think the NBA wants, doesn't matter what the NBA wants. But I mean, if you're an executive of the NBA, do you want the future teams on display? Which I think is kind of crucial, because I do believe the current superstars have not run their course, but like they're a part of the core that has watched the NBA ratings dip. The chance of the ratings going up could be with this young core. So I could see why you would want the Kings versus the Memphis and Ja against Fox. but you have Steph Curry going up against LeBron James, and you could have a Western Conference Finals that could end up having either Jokic, a 3-time MVP potentially, or going up against LeBron or Steph Curry, or Kevin Durant against LeBron or Steph Curry. I think the NBA wants that more, but right now the NBA is in good shape. These are all really good teams and players left.
Yeah, they want the Suns. They want the Suns to continue to win and to have them land in the Western Conference Finals, because you can get Kevin Durant versus, if it is Golden State that advances past the Kings, you will get you would get the Warriors and the Lakers in the second round, or the Warriors and the Grizzlies in the second round. All that beef that's been going on between those two teams over the last couple of years. They had an epic series last year in the Western Conference semifinals, so you have that beef situation. But ultimately, if you get the Lakers and Golden State in the second round, the winner of that meeting the Suns in the Western Conference Finals, I mean, the story just writes itself. I mean, you got Kevin Durant versus LeBron James. Kevin Durant went to the Warriors to beat LeBron James and the Cavs in the finals. LeBron James and the Heat beat his OKC team in the finals. Or you can get Clay, Steph, and Draymond versus KD, a team that he won championships with. The key to this all is the Suns. If the Suns are in the Western Conference Finals, or it's the Lakers and Golden State, you're going to get crazy ratings. You're going to get crazy talk on crazy talk on Twitter. You're going to get all types of madness going on there. Now, the East, I have no idea. Obviously, you probably will want your best player being Giannis in the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to win 3 straight.
Yeah. I mean, that's a bad Heat team, but they've won 3 already. They just need to win 1 more.
And that's the craziest part. They are they've the worst scoring offense in the NBA in over 82 regular season games. They were bad in their first matchup in the play-in. Remember, they were the 7th seed in the play-in. Lost, had to win in the 8th seed to get into the playoffs. And now they're knocking down threes left and right with the best 3-point shooter with a broken hand, not even playing.
Yeah, it was fake though. Oh no, Hero. Yeah. I was thinking Ja. I'm like, man, that dude. Speaking of Ja real quick, and yeah, I mean the Heat in the NBA where it's all about scoring. The scoring drops a bit come playoffs.
Theirs went up.
Almost helped them.
It's crazy
because it slowed the pace down, which I guess I don't get it. And it's tough. This is why the NBA, when you talk about load management, fans don't like it, and the teams will tell you they like it. But I wonder how many more playoffs coming off of load management filled seasons. Now, load management's been around for a while, but it seems now it's league wide. It's not just select teams. It used to be it's league wide now. So with that being said, I wonder how many years of this before we get to the playoffs and coaches and teams start saying, you know what, we don't like this. Like seeding means nothing. And I think that's very much on display right now. Now, to be fair, Milwaukee is a 1 versus 8 gap between them. And
yes,
but that's not the case right now. But we never talk about 8 versus 1s. It rarely happens. But in today's NBA, seeding doesn't matter because the younger, healthier teams are playing more games. That's why they're winning in the 50s. And then the better teams, like in the Suns, who acquired Kevin Durant late, their record doesn't really reflect who they are because they're a star-filled team that added Kevin Durant, who missed time even after being traded there. So it's like that's a number 1 team in the West potentially. The Lakers. I think they're like 20-10 since the trade deadline or something crazy like that. And Pelinka, good for him. That Lakers team's good. I said at the beginning, remember they won game 1, and I said, you know what? I'm not that excited about it because you have to rely on both those dudes to every game they've won is because those two, Hachimura and Reeves, have had just fantastic games. And again, Reeves handling the ball, hitting big shots, clutch shots late. D'Lo hit some clutch shots and have
hit 3 threes in a row.
Everything that needs to happen. But this is what's fun about the NBA right now. People talk about the inconsistencies of some of these teams. The inconsistencies of some of these teams stem from the parity in the league. I know that sounds crazy, but every team, Kev, it's a 2-star headed monster with a bunch of role players. And I think that's what's best for the league. I think that's, or at least in my eyes, what I'm entertained by, because we have no clue who's going to win. Now, there are teams with more experience like Milwaukee and Boston and Philly who's been around for a while, but I just mean like the inconsistencies with the Lakers, that's not going to go anywhere. But guess what? There's inconsistencies with the Suns as well. They have 5. Their 5's really good, but their bench doesn't complement them. But that's what you get when you have a little bit more top-heavy teams and rosters. Even the Grizzlies. They have 2-3 guys that are just killing it, but they don't have depth. it's the depth with the teams in the playoffs right now that's really lacking, which is interesting. The Knicks, the most deep team in the playoffs,
I was just about to say that.
they're the ones thriving right now.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it yesterday. Their bench players are playing better than the Cavs starters, and that is crazy. That is crazy. You can't win like that. The Cavs are not a deep team at all, and it's really coming out in the playoffs, like how they don't really have anything else besides their starters, and it's really not even starters. They have 4 guys out there that play majority of the minutes. Karis LeVert and Isaac Okoro kind of like flip flop and everything like that, but they really only play 6 guys. That's like college basketball style. You don't see that in the NBA. In the NBA, you at least go 7 to 8 deep. You might cut it down when you closer and closer you get to the finals, but most teams do play about 7 guys. They're really only out there playing 6 guys in the playoffs. Crazy.
Kinner and Kev, 1410 Wing AM. Ron Howard said, doesn't matter how bad they are, they're getting hot at the right time. I'm assuming talking about the Miami Heat. And you can say the same thing about the Knicks as well. I mean, they've caught fire come playoff time. Some of it's matchup based, but it's that depth. And that depth might be what carries them to the Eastern Conference Finals and maybe even potentially the finals if that's the case, especially if Milwaukee's out. Because the gap between Milwaukee and most Eastern Conference teams, Kev, is pretty wide, even though they're down 3-1, which is just wild, as we've talked about. But let's say you get Boston, New York in the Eastern Conference Finals. Though Boston will be the favorite, but they'll be the favorite because they have the 2 stars. But all of a sudden, New York has these developed stars with Brunson and company. So it's kind of interesting. But we'll talk more about the playoffs coming up here around the corner. Every time I said we'll talk about it later, we go on for 5-10 minutes. But like I said, Kevin's a bigger NBA fan than me during the regular season, but now the playoffs are here. I enjoy it.
Man, the crazy thing, you talk about that, if it is Boston and the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, but even if Philly beats Boston in the second round, what if it's Philly in New York in the Eastern Conference Finals? It's popcorn season, man. Get ready. It's the association, man.
All right, 518-1410. Excuse me, 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. We opened up the show today, little NBA playoff talk. Throughout the idea, NFL draft, the number one overall pick should not go to the worst team with the worst record. It should go to the team that was the first to miss the playoffs. We talked about that, got some feedback on that. Scott Campbell weighs in. Cav, he says, absolutely, the pick should go to the first team out. So many franchises across all of sports abuse the first-round pick for finishing last. The Bengals got lucky with Burrow. I knew I liked you, Scott. But nonetheless. Coming down here, and if you guys disagree, it's fine. I'm curious hearing, how people combat that. Alan Hubler says, the league doesn't always care about fairness. They have to be able to sell the games featuring bad franchises. But that's and agree, Alan, but I think that this would alleviate that, because I think what you'll end up getting is you'll no longer get those depleted rosters like the Houston Texans and the Chicago Bears, because those 2 teams, instead of saying, well, we don't want to win next year because we want a top draft pick, we got to now, to get a top draft pick, we actually got to be competitive. We don't need to spend a ton because we don't, we just need to be competitive enough to get that pick. You're going to have much better rosters across the board, and that's going to be more money. Teams will be more desperate to spend money because now there's a desperation to add talent to your roster, as opposed to, okay, we're not even trying. We're just going to get a good draft pick as far as that's concerned. So, but nonetheless, yesterday, Aaron Rodgers officially, that deal gets done as far as that's concerned. And I found that the most interesting, Kev, because at the end of the day, really what this comes down to is how healthy is he going to be? Is he going to be able to lead this team, to a Super Bowl run? I thought so, but hearing the analysis today, everyone's excited about him there, but the Jets roster just doesn't stack up to a lot of the other top teams in the AFC. Your thoughts on that?
It stacks up. They got talent out there. I question their offensive line for sure. The defense was outstanding last year. We talk about Sauce Gardner a ton, but they got defensive end rushers out of there as well. Very young guys. It's really all going to come down to offensive line play, and if Aaron Rodgers is going to show up at the first mini camp to get that rapport with the young wide receivers. Because, I know Alan Lazard went there. He has rapport with him from playing with Green Bay. But let's be real, man. It's really all about, Corey Davis and Garrett Wilson. Those are going to be the guys that's going to be scoring the touchdowns for him. So he needs to get that rapport with them. So is he going to play Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to show up when I show up? Or is he going to jump in there feet first and try to get this rapport going with them because they're going to need to?
One of the guys that really was fired up about the Jets getting Aaron Rodgers, Rex Ryan on ESPN's Get Up earlier today.
This happens to be Super Bowl III, my dad's Super Bowl ring right here. And I feel like why am I wearing it? Because the Jets are going. And to me, watch out, everybody. Here come the Jets.
Never heard a coach who got fired by a team. Still, I mean, look, the divorce rate's super high. It's a high male listenership station. I'm sure a good chunk of our listeners have been divorced. Has anyone ever loved their ex the way Rex Ryan loves his ex in the New York Jets? It's a big deal. Aaron Rodgers going there. I think it makes the AFC just beyond entertaining. Every week there's going to be top matchups as far as that's concerned. But someone made a good point yesterday. I said Aaron Rodgers, number 2 quarterback in the AFC behind Patrick Mahomes. I forgot he's a 4-time MVP. He won back-to-back, obviously. But I think last year, if the Packers still have Adams and just a remotely decent offense, I still think he wins another one. But the bottom line is this is the best offense and the best defense, as wild as it sounds. Even those 2 MVP seasons he had, Kev, this Jets team still has more talent collectively than any of the Packers teams those 2 years because of the balance of the defense. He's never had a top 10 defense, which I didn't realize that the Packers have never been a top 10 defense in the years that, he's been the starting quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. Like a top 10 defense. I mean, obviously a defense is needed, but more talent. I mean, you think about one of those years he had Corey Linsley, a starting offensive lineman. You had the left tackle that seems to always be hurt now for the Green Bay Packers. We putting a lot of onus into Garrett Wilson being a great wide receiver in the NFL. And obviously we're all rooting for that because he's a Buckeye, but nobody on that team is Devontae Adams. Like Devontae Adams, best receiver in the league multiple years in a row. I'm not sure. And then also him himself, he's not the same level quarterback that he once was. I know that this is just 1 year removed of the MVP season, but he is getting older. Is he going to have the same zip on the passes? He's also still that same quarterback that lost a ton of home playoff games as well. So I don't know if this team is more talented than any other team he's ever played with in Green Bay. I mean, was part of a team that won a Super Bowl, for goodness sakes. So, I mean, they're in contention for sure, no doubt about it. But I wouldn't say they're more talented than any other team you played with in Green Bay.
I think the receiving core, by the way, they need a left tackle. That's the Jets, of course, which is something they'll focus on in the draft. The run game will cancel out because obviously the Jets have a very good run game. The Packers have always had a good run game.
Yeah.
Packers always had one of the best offensive lines, as you talked about, Corey Linsley and company. And then so the Jets are going to have to try to match that. The O-line's not going to be as great, but I think he's going to have more well-rounded weapons. And I think that's what's important too. It's why the OBJ thing just still is interesting to me, why he chose to go to the Ravens and not the Packers. I got who that is, by the way. It's Packer fan Tim. We're gonna get to Packer fan Tim here in a second. But I think collectively this is going to be the most talent. I do believe that last year was because of the lack of talent. And then you saw as the talent started getting more comfortable as the season went on, Aaron Rodgers' numbers got better as the season went on. Of course, ultimately missing the playoffs, losing to Detroit. How about that? He dominates that division his entire career, and his last game ever as a Packer is a loss against Detroit at home. Well, Tom Brady's last game ever as a New England Patriot was a pick 6 in the playoffs. So, I mean, sometimes it's not the most memorable games to end these careers. Let's go to Packers fan Tim. Packers fan Tim, welcome, sir. How are you?
Hey, pretty good. Sad. Pretty sad yesterday. I knew it was coming, but I'm excited for Jordan Love, but I'm more excited for Aaron Rodgers. I'm glad they don't play the Packers for the next 2 seasons. I'd love to see Aaron Rodgers win another Super Bowl, but not at the expense of Green Bay. So I got so many AFC to root for. I told you guys that a month ago when we talked or something. But, Kev, this is by far the best defense. The Packers had a great defense when they won the Super Bowl, and that's when they had Charles Woodson. That's when they had Clay Matthews and a couple of other key players. The Packers defense, and they've tried to address it. They've drafted defense, but the defense has they've been one of the worst run defenses for decades. I mean, for decades, the Packers' run defense has been awful. And frankly, special teams, now they improved a bunch last year. And the thing I miss about Rodgers for 15 consecutive years as a starter, man, every Sunday or whatever game day was that, hey, we can win this game. It's just so much entertaining. I mean, it's the fact that, of course, when they didn't get to the Super Bowl, was disappointed, but the number of times they got the NFC Championship game, it's just the season is so much fun when you have a winning record year in, and yet I'll make the playoffs, I think 11 times out of the 15 times he's a starter. Rodgers, and plus Rodgers, he is a different guy. And when they referred to him as a complicated fella, there's some truth to that. I kind of mean it as a compliment too, but Rodgers is going to be pumped. Rodgers, and who he wants? People are talking about him going to the 49ers. He wants to beat the 49ers. Rodgers holds a grudge, man. That dude holds a grudge, and he wants to beat the 49ers. He would love to beat the 49ers in the NFL Super Bowl, because another thing, the past couple of years, the Packers couldn't. So he'd be showing the Packers management, hey, I can do this. Jets fans should be really happy. They've got everything. Getting McCole Hardman, that guy had, I think it was 6 touchdowns in 8 games for the Chiefs last year. That guy, yards after the catch, nobody's been better than him since he's been in the league other than Deebo Samuel. Now he's got to stay healthy. And I think the Jets offensive line, the big problem last year was they weren't healthy. And that's a big problem for the Packers, David Bakhtiari, when he wasn't playing. So the Jets defense, so I followed the Packers since, when I was in 1967, I'm a, 8-year-old kid. I don't know statistics and things like that, but I'd get the Green Bay paper. My uncle would send it to me, and I'd read everything. And, they've had some great defenses then. There's not been a defense. I don't think the Packers have ever had a defense, unless you go back to Lombardi's years, that's as good as much talent as the New York Jets. The Jets last year, I think, only gave up 1.8 touchdowns per game. They led the league there. They were 4th in yards against, 4th in points against, but sometimes those points were scored, against them when their offense was on the field. You had Zach Wilson and those guys. So, Kevy, I think this is a much better defense. Rodgers hasn't played with this kind of a defense, and I think that'll make a world of difference. The Jets, I think, are – and one real quick thing, because I've been on for a while, I think it's a good chance that what's going to happen with the Jets is they're going to, they'll take a couple lumps early on, but I think they could easily end up winning the conference. They're playing the Chiefs, but they're playing them at home. I think they're playing the Chargers, but they're playing at home. The Jets have a fairly tough schedule, but I think he's got a good chance of doing what Brady did at the Bucs. It's tough to win. You got to have everybody healthy and all that kind of stuff. Who knows? Maybe Brock Purdy's a real deal and the 49ers win everything. But I think there's a really good chance that they make the AFC Championship game at least. And I think the Packers are probably going to take some lumps. Aaron Rodgers' first year as a starter threw 28 touchdowns and 4,000 yards. That's pretty doggone good for your first year as a starter. But I still think, if I remember correctly, they only won 7 games. I think they were 7-9 Rodgers' first year. So I think Jordan Love is going to have a great career. But, yeah, the Packer fans, we're going to take some lumps early on too. But I'll just have to be rooting on my new AFC team.
I need a second AFC team. I think it might be the Jets. All right, Packers fan Tim, appreciate you
guys.
Take care.
You bet.
518.
So let's get this right. You are a Browns fan, a Cowboys fan, and now a Jets fan.
Not really, but
get a team per division.
No, I do like I like the Jets makeup. I think that they're the most well-rounded team in that AFC East to begin with. I think that Buffalo, I think they look sexier. Because it's Josh Allen and
right.
Stephon Diggs. But the Stephon Diggs thing, he's not showing up. I know it's voluntary stuff, but there's a lot of talk. I think we haven't even got to the point where there's drama in Buffalo right now. They could be without Stephon Diggs.
There's been drama up there in Buffalo since the Bengals went up there and beat that.
Yeah, when Buffalo lost, Buffalo, there was a lot of discord in that locker room. They lost that game. They beat themselves. Anyways, all right, 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. But man, this Jets schedule next season, a lot of really good teams on this schedule. A lot of really good teams. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
The NBA playoffs are here, and you can turn crossovers into cash with FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/Kinner, Kinner, right now and place a $5 bet, and you'll get an instant $150 back in bonus bets, win or lose. FanDuel is honestly one of the best, in my opinion, at offering so many great promotions for new and existing customers. I do have to say, though, that this deal for new customers is pretty cool. $150 in bonus bets, win or lose, after placing at least a $5 bet. This is a great promotional deal for new customers. There is no better place to bet all of the playoff action than America's #1 sports book. Just go to FanDuel.com/Kinner and sign up to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet your first $5. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. You must be 21 and older and present in Ohio. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-330-2929. That's 800-330-2929. 800-330-2929.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Pennzoil Platinum can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life oil filter for only $37.99. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. Excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today. Online at CordellTransportation.com. Driven to succeed.
By now, you should know Audio Etc. has all the same sales and deals on TVs and projectors as everyone else. But did you know we also have some of the world's best hi-fi? Hi, this is Kirby from Audio Etc. And we do have some of the best home theater, high-fidelity gear on the planet. Not only do we have your favorite brands like Klipsch speakers and SVS subwoofers, but audiophile greats from Bowers & Wilkins, Kef, NAD, Marantz, Cambridge, Mark Levinson, and plenty of vinyl and tube gear. Plus exotics you only see in the magazines. Stop by today and visit Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom and see and audition the best audio and video has to offer. While you're in, check out our huge selection of pre-owned vintage gear. A great way to afford great gear otherwise out of reach, or revisit old classics. Audio Etc. Sound advice you can trust. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon in Centerville, or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom.
The days of the week mean value at the home for fun food, sports, and spirits, Frickers. Monday, boneless freaking chicken wings. Tuesday, traditional freaking chicken wings. Wednesday, sirloin steak special. Thursday, frickin' chicken chunks. Frickers offers even more savings by offering double points on everyday values when you download and use the Frickers app. Double points on everyday value purchases. The place that saves you more money every day is the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
From supporting local food banks to raising money for those in need, our listeners know they can count on 1410 Wing AM to lend a helping hand. Like thousands of AM radio stations across the country, we take seriously our commitment to our listeners and our community. More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for help and a connection. In addition to the news, information, and entertainment we provide, we would love to hear what you value most about AM radio. Visit wearebroadcasters.com and tell us how you depend on AM.
My friends, baseball is back, and the push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops. Make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is the best wagering app around with a direct line to experienced bookmakers behind the counter in Las Vegas. Plus, get a $250 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager in the same day. Don't let spring pass you by without winning money with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
Ready to get your business the help it deserves? Find out if it qualifies for ERC assistance in less than 8 minutes. Up to $26,000 per employee could be waiting. Go to getrefunds.com to get started.
Justin Kinner back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Kev Nash stepped out for a few seconds. He'll be back in a moment. We opened up the show talking about, I don't like the draft order. It's a topic we've done many, many times, but it's always kind of fun to bring up on the week of the draft to kind of show just why I think my suggestion would be so much more impactful on the league, and the league that's not broken by any means. But when you look at the NFL right now, and you look at the model of the draft, and it's very similar to a lot of other sports. I mean, look, the best players out of college go to the worst teams record-wise for that particular season. And I've just never understood why in every asset of life, we're not rewarded for being bad. If I'm bad at my job, I get fired. Right? If you're bad at your job, you get fired. If your kids are bad at school, they get suspended, or there's punishments that come along. There's no such thing outside of professional sports where the worse you are at your job, the more you get rewarded for it. It doesn't make any sense, and I'm not a fan of it. And I think that instead of rewarding teams for losing, you should reward teams for trying to win, even if they're not the best teams in the league. I think you should give so much more attention and praise and credit to those who are not trying to make a mockery of your sport. I think that the Chicago Bears and the Houston Texans made a mockery of the NFL. The Chicago Bears have money to spend, and they choose not to. You want to talk about, in Major League Baseball, you have the Yankees who have all the money in the world, and an organization like the Cincinnati Reds where they have money, but they have to be very selective with it. They have to be very careful with it. That's not the case in the NFL. Everyone has the same amount of money to spend. Now, some are cash rich, like the Cleveland Browns, as we've talked about. And others have to sell every piece of advertising, room in their stadium just to pay their quarterback. I mean, it just varies from team to team, of course, but every team has the money to spend, is my point. And you look at the teams that just missed the playoffs this year. The Lions, 9-8, were the first team eliminated from the playoffs. Same thing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But, and Mike Tomlin, has never had a season under 500. But I do believe, like the Lions and Steelers, they tried to win. They didn't have Super Bowl caliber rosters. They didn't have a roster like the Cincinnati Bengals or the Kansas City Chiefs or whatever. And they could have said, you know what? Kenny Pickett, we're going to draft you, we're going to start you, but we're not going to add any talent. We're not going to get any weapons on defense. We're not going to do anything. In fact, we're going to rebuild and start all over and get a top draft pick and move on. No, they tried to win. They knew they weren't better than all the teams in their conference, much less their division, but they tried to win, and they went 9-8. Reward them. The Lions started out poor that season, not out of lack of trying, but they did what teams are supposed to do, get better as the season goes on. They finished 9-8, and what do they get? They get a middle-of-the-line draft pick. I know they have a top 10 draft pick because of trades they've made in years past, but that's not the point. If you just base it off, the draft pick that they get for their season, it's a middle-of-the-line draft pick. It's not very good. It's not very good. So I say this because if the number one overall draft pick would go to the team that just misses the bottom 15, the number one overall pick should go to that number 15 team, the one that just missed the playoffs, and work your way down to the worst team who still gets a first-round pick, except the Chicago Bears and the Houston Texans. I know the Bears traded their pick to Carolina, but they would be picking at 14 and 15. Guess what? Those draft picks, you could still get something for them, but they're not as heavy as the number 1, number 2, number 3 pick. And the fact that you have a 500 team or a sub 500 team with the number 1 overall pick, that's how you take those sub-average teams and turn them into really, really good playoff teams right away. You imagine Bryce Young or CJ Stroud with the Lions roster if they had the number 1 overall pick this year? That would be amazing. No, but instead we reward teams for losing. The Bengals get Joe Burrow handed to them for winning 2 games. It's embarrassing. T. Higgins gets rewarded to the Bengals. It's embarrassing. That year, that draft in 2020, if my method was followed, this would be a lot better for the NFL because Joe Burrow would actually win a Super Bowl had the Rams drafted him. Los Angeles Rams finished 9-7 that year. They were the first team eliminated. They would have drafted Joe Burrow number 1 overall. You know who the Pittsburgh Steelers would have drafted with the number 2 pick, finishing 8-8? They would have probably taken, Justin Herbert. That would have been great. That would have been fantastic for the league. That would have been amazing. The Chicago Bears, they could have potentially drafted Jalen Hurts. That would have been amazing for the league. That would have been amazing for those guys. I know Jalen Hurts is doing well with the Eagles, but again, excuse me, he was, a team that was at the back of the draft to trade up to get him, all that type of stuff. But I think you should reward the teams for trying to win and stop bailing out the teams who continue to not try to win. They win by losing. You should win by trying to win. It's that simple. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, 1410 Wing AM. 518-1410, 518-1410. Give us a call. But I look back at that 2020 draft and the Bengals who finished the season at 2-14. 2-14. Got rewarded Joe Burrow and then T. Higgins in the second round. Can you imagine if the Rams, who were 9-7, drafted Joe Burrow number 1 overall? Can you imagine if they got T. Higgins in the second round to go with Cooper Kupp? Oh, man. The Rams would no longer say F them picks. They'd be counting Super Bowl rings all over their hands. Instead of the 1, they'd have a lot more than that. But no, the Bengals got bailed out for being bad as usual. Kenner and Kev, 1410 Wing AM. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
I can't wait for what's next, even with higher stroke risk due to atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Eliquis, the Pixaban tablets, reduces stroke risk. It's the #1 cardiologist-prescribed blood thinner.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or have antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising, or if you have tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take medicines such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Do you or any of your family members, neighbors, or friends own a property that you just want to be done with it? If so, call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you to take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. Call 614-470-2000. That's 614-470-2000.
Spend less time maintaining your deck and more time relaxing on it with Ultra Deck. Low maintenance decking from Menards. Ultra Deck Rustic gives you the look of real wood without the upkeep. Start enjoying your deck today and get 8, 12, and 16-foot lengths of UltraDeck rustic decking for just $195 per lineal foot after rebate. Good through April 30th, savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Want to feed your family without breaking the bank? Take a trip to Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and pick up a 16-piece family meal at a great price. With 16 pieces of our classic honey-dipped, hand-breaded Famous Recipe Chicken, 4 craveable large sides, and 8 fluffy biscuits. It's affordable eats done right. Treat your crowd to the best for less with the Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken 16-piece family meal. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Hurry and shop the final days of SpringFest at Lowe's. Save big on all you need for spring, inside and outside the home. Shop Lowe's today because Lowe's knows home improvement.
All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Justin Kenner with you here, Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Phone line's open, 518-1410. News broke just a little bit ago during the little pause in the action that the Cincinnati Bengals have picked up the 5th-year option on the contract of quarterback Joe Burrow. Considering he took them to a Super Bowl already, it seems like the right decision, to say the least. Well, what would be the right decision is just to get a deal done already. I mean, Bengals fans, you literally made fun of the Cleveland Browns when they picked up the 5th-year option for Baker Mayfield. You said, oh, see, they're not sold on Baker Mayfield yet, which, by the way, they weren't. And the Bengals are definitely sold on Joe Burrow. But this is why I like to tell Bengals fans just to pipe down, because you don't know what the hell you're talking about as usual. This is common for teams, but when the Bengals do it, it's smart. But when everyone else does it, you make fun of them. Like when the Miami Dolphins picked up the 5th-year option on Tua Tagovailoa. Bengals fans had the nerve to chirp. The Bengals almost win a couple big games, and now they think that they can make fun of other teams. It just drives me crazy. No, I'm keeping an eye on this contract negotiation with Joe Burrow, because we were told in the middle of the season that they were both committed to getting a deal done, as if talks had started. Talks had started right away after the playoffs. Talks had started right at the beginning of free agency. Last month when the coaches meetings, they were talking about, they're not going to be commenting on the negotiations, blah, 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 because they probably watched the freak show that was the Baltimore Ravens, and now they handled it with Lamar Jackson. But I'm keeping an eye on this thing with Joe Burrow and everyone, because my thing is I don't know why a deal ain't done by now anyways. Joe Burrow is a name-your-price type of quarterback. There's what's really to negotiate. You know what I mean? Like, I think Bengals fans who do all this chirping about, all you do is hate, and all you do is, I believe they're going to get a deal done, but what is taking so long to begin with? Why did the Eagles and Jalen Hurts get their deal done right away? Jalen Hurts, highest paid quarterback in the National Football League for now until Joe Burrow gets his deal. But then again, when will that be? The 5th-year option, all that does is give the Bengals just more time to drag their feet with this. I'm almost wondering, and this might benefit Joe Burrow, who might get paid even more money now, because if they do take this negotiation into next season, now all of a sudden, how many quarterbacks will be paid between now and then that just keeps making that deal more and more and more? The 5th-year option is to buy time, because they're not I think they might still be a little far apart on these negotiations. I was waiting to see that was going to be the news, that the Bengals got a deal done with Joe Burrow, and they didn't. They just took the 5th-year option. They picked up the 5th. Okay, more power to them. Get the deal done. Stop stalling. As much as I like to poke at the Bengals, Joe Burrow is a name-your-price type of quarterback. What he wants, he should get. Because up until Joe Burrow got here, the Cincinnati Bengals were the biggest joke in the National Football League, and that's coming from a guy that is a fan of a team that was just 0-16 not even 5-6 years ago. I like to make fun of the Browns. Keep in mind, even with the more winning that you've done than the Browns, you've still been considered a joke of an organization. Joe Burrow came and saved you. Why isn't the organization rewarded him with the contract yet? Why? Doesn't make any sense. Get the deal done. Maybe all the criticisms of the Cincinnati Bengals not getting these things done in a timely fashion, maybe those are warranted. Get it done, Cincinnati. Get it done. Steve Stetler, he says that's a slap in the face to Joe Burrow. All it does is open the door for him to leave. I don't think it opens the door for him to leave. I truly believe Joe Burrow wants to be a Bengal. Joe Burrow wants to stay in Cincinnati, but Joe Burrow means more to the Bengals than the Bengals mean to him, because Joe Burr, or whatever other dumb nicknames you guys have given him over the years, he's going to be Joe Burr no matter where he goes and plays, whether it's with the Rams, whether it's with the Raiders, no matter where he ends up going. Joe Burr is not Joe Burr because of the Bengals. The Bengals are only semi-interesting because of Joe Burrow. The Bengals are going to get a ton of primetime games coming up this season, as it's been reported. That's all because of Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's not playing in primetime because he plays on the Bengals. Joe Burrow's playing in primetime because he's Joe Burr, and he's better than the Bengals. He's bigger than the organization, which means, what are you waiting for? Pay him. I have no clue why the Cincinnati Bengals just did this fifth-year option. That is not the contract news I was expecting to hear, but it is what it is. We'll see what ends up happening. Bengals fans, your thoughts, 518-1410. Jacob Fightmaster said, even Geno got a fat contract. Give Burrow the money he's owed. I agree. The fifth-year option is a stalling tactic because the Cincinnati Bengals, so what I mean by this, and you guys are thinking I'm taking advantage of this to hate. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I don't really know, but this does irritate me because keep in mind, if they haven't agreed on something yet, let's be clear. Joe Burrow is in charge of this. Now, the Bengals are technically because they have to sign off on it, but what I mean is I don't think this is a Lamar situation because Lamar gave the Ravens enough reasons to maybe kind of back off a bit and not give him everything he wanted. But there's nothing that you could look at, unless you look at Joe Burrow and say, you got us to a Super Bowl, but you didn't play well in the Super Bowl. You got us to the AFC title game, but you didn't play well in the AFC title game last year. I mean, I guess there's those things, but I don't think that's what's being mentioned in these. But, it's funny how petty you become when we're talking 50+ mil a year and however much guaranteed money he wants. You guys all gave Joe Burrow the benefit of the doubt that he was going to give a team-friendly contract and all this stuff. Well, if he was willing to do a team-friendly contract, this would have been done by now. And by the way, I don't think he should give a team-friendly contract. I don't think he should give a team-friendly contract. I mean, why should he? The Bengals weren't even remotely interesting. They were the butt end of everyone's jokes until Joe Burrow got there. Heck, half the fans that listen to the show that are Bengals fans, they've been listening to the show longer than they've been Bengals fans. I mean, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, the only reason this is happening, it's because Joe Burrow has let them know what he wants, and they don't want to give him what he wants. And they said, well, all right, the best I could do is a fifth-year option. It's like Pawn Stars or whatever the hell that show is. The best I could do is a fifth-year option. Typical. I thought that's what the naming rights for the stadium were for. I thought that's what all these other things were. This is embarrassing. I get why the Dolphins did the fifth-year option with Tua Tagovailoa. I get why the Cleveland Browns did the fifth-year option with Baker Mayfield, because you needed to kind of see, you saw there's something there. There was something there with Baker that the Browns liked, but there wasn't what Baker didn't do for the Browns what Joe Burrow's done for the Bengals. So I get why the Browns were going to go the fifth-year option route with Baker Mayfield. I get why the Dolphins did it with Tua Tagovailoa, even though Tua was an MVP candidate halfway through the season last year before the injuries, but the injuries are even more of a reason now why that they did the fifth-year option. Joe Burrow gets a fifth-year option? Really? Really? The Bengals they have no leverage in this because Joe Burrow wins no matter what. I think Lamar needs the Ravens more than Joe Burrow needs the Bengals. Lamar needed the Ravens because the Ravens built the system that got him the MVP and put him in position to be who he is right now. Not saying he couldn't do it elsewhere, but you can't just drop Lamar on any team across the league and expect him to pick up where he left off with Baltimore. You can literally drop Joe Burrow on any team in the National Football League. Boom. Instantly better. Instantly better. And it's not a lot of work. You drop Joe Burrow on any team in the NFL, they're instantly better. There's not a whole lot of work as far as the playbook is concerned. The dude's smart. He's accurate, throws a deep ball. He has the it factor. He does it all. It's annoying to me, but even I can acknowledge it. I think it's embarrassing that the team has not taken care of it. So Lamar Shelley says, sounds like a hometown discount to me. Lamar, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Dak Prescott got the fifth-year option. Kirk Cousins get that. Baker Mayfield, Tua Tagovailoa, quarterbacks that are good, but not elite. And Joe Burrow gets that? Really? Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs didn't. The Chiefs are like, name your price, bro. We got you. It is what it is. I know it wasn't, at the time, he was the highest paid. People say, that he gave them a team-friendly discount. No, he didn't. When he signed it, he was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Anyways. All right. I'm curious, Bengals fans. We're live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. Your thoughts on this? Am I just being too negative? I don't think I am. I think your team is starting to show people why they get made fun of so much. The fifth-year option's a joke. Joe Burrow, the only announcement about a deal with Joe Burrow should have been they got the extension done, not the fifth-year option. Fifth-year options are for above average to good quarterbacks. This is wild. This is wild. It's a joke. But, hey, Bengals is the Bengals. They'll get a deal done, I'm sure. But the fact that this is going to be that it's going to have to go this long is just kind of silly because, to me, Joe Burrow goes into that office. He tells them what they want. They say, okay, and off you go. Joe Burrow's not the kind you negotiate with. Joe Burrow's the kind you get the deal done and you move on. Patrick Mahomes, he was a great enough quarterback that you get the deal done and you move on. There was no stalling tactics. Jalen Hurts, guess what? Takes your team to a Super Bowl. They saw everything that they needed. They got a deal done. There was no stalling tactics. The Bengals, you got Joe freaking Burrow. Makes your team the most, they're finally interesting. People finally care about the Bengals. And apparently whatever Joe Burrow has asked for, the Bengals have said, yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, people only care about us now because of Joe Burrow, but he asked us for this amount of money, and I don't know. I don't know if we could do that. Wild. I'd rather have an owner like the Browns who maybe overpaid to get a quarterback, but hey, the price of winning has no price tag. He's like, whatever we got to do to win, let's do it. Fifth-year option. Whatever. Kinner and Cat, 1410 Wing AM.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Our forecast is calling for a chance of showers in 36 tonight. Mostly sunny. 60 for the day Wednesday. Thursday, sunshine and 64. I'm Rick Schrupp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Carol Wirtz Tire and Auto Service at 730 South Patterson in Dayton, where they treat every vehicle like their own and every customer like family. Online at c-wtire.com.
Finding great people to hire can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Their powerful matching technology delivers so many qualified candidates, it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Wendy's $3 breakfast deal is a bacon or sausage egg croissant plus small seasoned potatoes for $3. It's the breakfast that don't miss. So if you did miss Wendy's breakfast, don't imagine fresh cracked eggs, sizzling sausage, crispy bacon, and block out those hot, buttery, flaky croissants. Croissants don't really make a sound, but if they did, for a breakfast that don't miss, Wendy's is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $3 breakfast deal.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's. Select a request $3 breakfast deal to obtain discount. Not valid for a la carte or combo orders.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
The days of the week mean value at the home for fun food, sports, and spirits, Frickers. Monday, boneless freaking chicken wings. Tuesday, traditional freaking chicken wings. Wednesday, sirloin steak special. Thursday Frickin' Chicken Chunks. Frickers offers even more savings by offering double points on everyday values when you download and use the Frickers app. Double points on everyday value purchases. The place that saves you more money every day is the home for fun food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Everyone knows you can have a lot of fun outside. But did you know that spending time outdoors is actually good for you? That's right. Spending time in the outdoors can have a positive impact on your body and your mind. Even 15 minutes outside a day can lower your stress and help you feel better. So get out there, visit an Ohio park, and thrive outside. Are you in crisis? Contact Ohio's Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Call, text, or chat 988.
If you haven't been to Chevrolet of Troy, you have to stop in today. Selection has never been better with over 300 new and pre-owned vehicles available, in stock and ready to go. It's the best in the region. We always accept employee and supplier pricing, and we make financing easy. Customer service is our top priority because we care about you. With thousands off MSRP, a full-service, state-of-the-art dealership, and huge selection, make Chevrolet of Troy your first choice. 1375 South Market Street and online at ChevroletofTroy.com.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper, and you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/joy. That's 4hims.com/joy for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/JOY.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
With more ways than ever to connect to news and entertainment, 90% of new car buyers want the tried and true AM/FM radio option. Gadgets are great, but when you're behind the wheel, you just want the local connection that can't be replicated. Local AM/FM radio is dependable and free, with no subscription or cellular data required. And as the backbone of the emergency alert system, we're here to keep you safe in dangerous times. Visit wearebroadcasters.com and tell us how you depend on AM.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hurry and shop the final days of SpringFest at Lowe's. Save big on all you need for spring, inside and outside the home. Shop Lowe's today because Lowe's knows home improvement.
Dayton sports fans, for more local sports content, make sure to subscribe to Dayton's ESPN Radio YouTube channel. And don't miss the Miami Valley's only local sports talk show, The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 Wing AM.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Give us a call at 518-1410. That is the dial-in number. You can also text the station and text the show as well, 518-1410. So news a little bit ago, about 15, 20 minutes ago, came out that the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow, they picked up the fifth-year option on Joe Burrow. A lot of different directions you could take this. For one, we're at the point now where with all this stuff going on with the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson, many people believe that the reason that they're in this situation now is because they just wouldn't have taken care of this 2 years ago when they had the opportunity to. When like what I don't get, and it's always easier to spend billionaires' money or millionaires' money, and so it seems easy to us. But if you know that that's your quarterback, like I don't think there's any doubt, Mike Brown and company, it's Joe Burrow.
Right.
And you have to spend money on quarterbacks. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you're going to extend negotiations based on a couple million here and there, potentially, if that's what's going on. But the fifth-year option has caught a lot of Bengals fans by surprise. And, of course, it's given me a lot of ammunition as far as that's concerned. But my thing is, this shouldn't even come down. I know the fifth-year option could technically be a formality as far as that's concerned, but it is wild that comes out. Like the Giants didn't do the fifth-year option with Daniel Jones. If the Giants –
they declined his.
If they could fall in love with Daniel Jones that quickly – I mean, my goodness, every team's different. But Bengals fans also make fun of, like, the Dolphins picked up the fifth-year option on Tua. Rip though. See, he's not their guy. They don't know. Made fun of the Browns, so they did it with Baker Mayfield. Made fun of the Cowboys with Dak Prescott. And I said, well, those guys are they're fifth-year option guys. Like that, like you sometimes need that extra year. Like the Browns, I had no problem with that. Like, yeah, I know he got into the playoffs. They won a playoff game, but there's ups and downs. Like you need to see one more year to know. And they got that extra year, and we know what they did after that. Same thing with the Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa. We know it's there, but okay, the health stuff starting to become a little bit of a scare. The fifth-year option made a ton of sense. Dak made a ton of sense. Like, they were so adamant that, man, I can't be good unless I have Zeke. Well, we give you Zeke, but we got to lose talent around you. So let's see what you got first. And of course, the injury happens, all this. I don't mind those quarterbacks getting that type of deal, but the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow's your guy. He has told you what he wants. You have looked at it and said, I know we're getting a lot of primetime games. I know that we are doing all this stuff that has now made us one of the most relevant teams in the NFL. But apparently there's a price tag on that they're not willing to match. And again, we're not to the point yet where you have to worry, but the option thing does seem kind of odd to me. I know it's a formality, but again, the Chiefs wasted no time in marrying Patrick Mahomes. The Eagles wasted no time in marrying Jalen Hurts. The Bengals want Joe Burrow. That's not what I'm saying, but the Bengals are doing Bengals things here. I think everything's going to be fine, but the longer this goes on, you run into what happened with the Baltimore Ravens. Had they just checked the boxes off early on, you don't get to the point to where now you risk Deshaun's contract with the fully guaranteed thing. Now, every time you wait for Joe Burrow, you risk another quarterback getting that type of guaranteed money, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's interesting. There's something in the negotiation that the Bengals have said, yeah, I don't know about that one. We're not doing that. Let's start over. That's what I find odd. Name your price, Joe Burrow, is how the Bengals should be looking at this.
Yeah, that's the thing that we don't know about the contract negotiations going into the future. Like, we don't hear any rumors about what Joe Burrow wants. We're not hearing. We know everything that Lamar Jackson wants. We know that he wants a fully guaranteed contract, and that seems to be the hang-up with Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. We don't know exactly what Joe Burrow and his team are asking for. So this is basically a stopgap. Like, look, we're going to get it worked out. We're picking up this fifth-year option to give ourselves a little bit more time to work everything out that needs to be worked out. Because I'm with you. Like, you got your quarterback. You know who that quarterback is. You want him. He's helped you get to Super Bowl. He's bringing in big bucks for your team. They're going to work it out. They're just delaying working it out because, obviously, they're in a different position than a lot of other teams. They got 2 wide receivers that they're trying to keep. And obviously they're trying to keep their quarterback, so they got to crunch the numbers. So their situation isn't exactly the same as everybody else's.
Yeah, and this is why, like, and all fan bases get defensive of their team. Bengals fans got they get real defensive. Like for T. Higgins, for example, like I'm not taking shots here. It's like, every fan base is like this.
Yeah.
But they got super sensitive. And even Duke Tobin, I thought Duke Tobin came across a little inexperienced, even though he's done this for quite a few years. He came across very inexperienced at the combine meetings when reporters were asking about the future of T. Higgins and would he be available for trade. And he talked to the media like they were just dumb because, like, why would we trade T. Higgins? Well, because we all know how the salary cap works. And the salary cap just doesn't make sense to pay Joe Burrow, Jamar, and T. So that's why we're assuming. And by the way, you watch what the Chiefs did with Tyreek Hill. We've seen too many examples of teams who don't prioritize 2 wide receivers. So I don't think it was that silly. So when he said, I'm not in the business of making other teams better, I'm like, well, up until 2 years ago, you were in the business of making your own team better. So I don't know what that means. It's going to be interesting to see how all of this pans out. And to be clear, I'm not stirring the pot. A deal's going to get done. But I also never once believed, Kev, when everyone kept saying it was going to be a smooth thing, it's not going to be smooth. I think it's going to be a little bumpy, but he's going to get his money when it's all said and done.
Yeah, he's going to get his money. Another player out there that you would assume that they would get a contract done with is Justin Jefferson. They exercised the 5th-year option on Justin Jefferson, a wide receiver from Minnesota. Sometimes these things just take a longer time, and I think the Bengals are in a unique situation, especially with 2 star wide receivers that they desperately want to keep, and then obviously they got their guy at quarterback. So it's a lot of massaging that has to go on, a lot of egos involved, not only from the player's standpoint, but from the agent standpoint as well, because they want to be the agent that says, look, I got my quarterback the highest paid contract in NFL history. Let me go ahead and get whoever is coming out in the NFL draft, because look what I did for Joe Burrow. I took care of him. I'll take care of you, Caleb Williams, and all that type of stuff. So it's a lot of egos involved, from agents to players. And then obviously it's a whole lot of money going on.
There is. And so without knowing what's going on behind the scenes, for instance, reports came out, Lamar told the Ravens, obviously we're far apart on money, but if you even want to re-entertain these talks, I want OBJ and D-Hop.
Yeah.
Well, now there's cryptic tweets coming out today from OBJ and liking them as D-Hop and all this. So all these rumors now are like, and maybe it happens. Pac-Man Jones on the Pat McAfee show, that YouTube show, right? Love Pat McAfee. But earlier today, he said that his sources are telling him that D-Hop will be traded this week.
Wow.
And Baltimore the people are like looking at them saying that, I mean, that's wild to me, by the way. You go from not wanting to spend a dime to overpaying for OBJ, going to spend a lot of money on Devontae Adams if they end up getting him. And then, not Devontae Adams, Hopkins, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then you probably have to pay Lamar if that's the case. So I say this because that came out. So like we're waiting. Well, what's Lamar and them waiting on? Well, he's probably waiting on them. Hey, do what I asked. Joe Burrow could honestly be telling the Bengals, I'll sign when you get T taken care of. I want to know that T and Jamar are taken care of, and then I'll sign my deal, which I don't think that's the case, but you never know as far as that's concerned. It also could be they're trying to get Burrow taken care of, and they thought they can get the 3 taken care of, but you have that agent, that's Deshaun Watson's agent, which is very aggressive. T. Higgins wants paid. I don't know if he's going to take a pay cut to stay in Cincinnati. He's going to want every dime coming to him, and he has an agent that's aggressive and has gotten results for guys across the league. So
true.
Maybe it's a hiccup there, but the bottom line is I think we could both agree that he's your guy. Figure it out. If he's telling you what he wants, unless it's just so absurd that, and maybe Deshaun money isn't absurd. I mean, you're Joe Burrow. You've taken a team to a Super Bowl. You've taken a team back-to-back AFC title games. Maybe it's not that absurd. Everyone did not expect him to start at the Deshaun Watson number. Lamar did, and look where it got him. But man, if Burrow does it too, and now it's a trend, that's why some people kind of got mad at Jalen Hurts, saying, hey, you let the quarterbacks down around the league. Like, we had a chance to kind of gang up on the league a little bit here. You may have missed your opportunity. They may never get that deal done, but I love contract negotiation talk.
Yeah, because yours is signed.
Especially ones that work out.
So. Your quarterback is signed. You ain't got nothing to worry about right now.
Yeah. And I thought about this with CJ Stroud, and I was listening to a couple shows throughout the day. They were saying that the Houston Texans, one report is that, they don't want to work with the agent. And I was like, man, that agent, that's a slippery slope, by the way.
Yeah, they act like he only has one client.
Yeah.
He's got thousands of clients probably.
And you don't know who his future clients are going to be.
Exactly.
Let's say Caleb Williams lands Deshaun Watson's agent. That means if you have a chance to draft Caleb Williams next year, you're going to be like, no, I'm good.
All right.
And by the way, everyone drooled over Jalen Hurts' agent. She got him the highest paid and I'm like, well, and I did too. I thought it was a cool story, by the way, and it is. But I was laughing because I'm like, I don't think it's that impressive, to be honest. She got a contract for a guy that was an MVP favorite until he got hurt midseason and then led his team to a Super Bowl and outplayed the best quarterback in the NFL. And she made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. That's not that impressive. Taking a guy with 24 sexual assault allegations and making him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Now that's impressive. That's the agent right there that I would hire because he gets deals done above all odds. I mean, against all odds. Anyways.
True that.
We'll keep an eye on this situation. By the way, we just mentioned CJ Stroud. Let's talk a little CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, his stock keeps plummeting. It's like Fox after they got rid of Tucker Carlson. It doesn't make any sense. CJ Stroud, is this all smoke, or is where there's smoke, there's fire? We'll talk about that on the other side. How much stock should you put in to that S2 test or whatever the test results that are coming out? Very interesting about those, Kev. They say those test results that they don't guarantee that quarterbacks play well.
Right.
But what it does guarantee is that any quarterback that has tested low is bad. That's the one guarantee. That's the one thing they keep saying. It doesn't guarantee you'll play well, but bad results guarantee you'll play bad. Interesting. We'll talk about that when we come back. Kenner and Kev, 1410 Wing AM.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Keep your cars, ATVs, boats, RVs, and more protected with Versatube Building Systems and get 11% off today. Versatube offers a huge variety of metal carports, shelters, and buildings. Installation is quick and easy thanks to Slip Fit Connections. Get a 10 by 16 foot ATV shelter for just $999.99 after 11% off. Good through April 30th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
If you have joint pain and they're telling you surgery is your best option, please stop what you're doing and call QC Kinetics. Hey, it's Keith Byers. The folks at QC Kinetics use the latest, most advanced regenerative treatments to bring lasting pain relief the natural way. Regenerative medicine harnesses your own body's healing agents to restore and repair damaged tissue in your knees, your hips, shoulder, and back. The precision treatments are done in the office with no drugs and no downtime. QC Kinetics has hundreds of clinics all over America and thousands of satisfied patients. If your joints are aching from arthritis or injury, look beyond steroids and surgery and discover the amazing possibility with regenerative medicine, especially this time of the year. You need to be living life to the fullest and doing the stuff you love to do. If you can get relief and avoid going under the knife, doesn't it make sense to check it out? Call QC Kinetics now, 937-936-0325. It's a free consultation. That's 937-936-0325. 0325.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Get the best quality Dutch Boy paints at the lowest prices now at Menards. We offer a great selection of Dutch Boy paints that feature weather-resistant coating and crack, peel, and fade resistance, all packaged in the award-winning twist and pour containers. Get a gallon of Dutch Boy DuraClean exterior flat paint for just $29.98 after 11% rebate at Menards. Good through April 30th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
The days of the week mean value at the home for fun food, sports, and spirits, Frickers. Monday, boneless freaking chicken wings. Tuesday, traditional freaking chicken wings. Wednesday, sirloin steak special. Thursday, freaking chicken chunks. Frickers offers even more savings by offering double points on everyday values when you download and use the Frickers app. Double points on everyday value purchases. The place that saves you more money every day is the home for fun food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing
nothing on my skin. That's my new place. Nothing is everything.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
By now, you should know Audio Etc. has all the same sales and deals on TVs and projectors as everyone else. But did you know we also have some of the world's best hi-fi? Hi, this is Kirby from Audio Etc. And we do have some of the best home theater high-fidelity gear on the planet. Not only do we have your favorite brands like Clip speakers and SVS subwoofers, but audiophile greats from Bowers & Wilkins, Kef, NAD, Marantz, Cambridge, Mark Levinson, and plenty of vinyl and tube gear. Plus exotics you only see in the magazines. Stop by today and visit Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom and see and audition the best audio and video it has to offer. While you're in, check out our huge selection of pre-owned vintage gear. A great way to afford great gear otherwise out of reach, or revisit old classics. Audio Etc. Sound advice you can trust. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon in Centerville, or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom.
When I got the news, I was shocked.
I was scared. I was angry.
When I heard it could be treated with the right care, I was relieved.
I was happy. I was given a second chance.
Urology Specialists of Ohio offers men peace of mind. 5 physicians and 5 locations. Now accepting new patients. Make an appointment with a physician that cares about your health and prevention. Urology Specialists of Ohio, Beaver Creek, Springfield, Urbana, Xenia, and London. Online at urologyspecialistsofohio.com.
Shop SpringFest at Lowe's and get the best values of the season before they're gone. Save on select major kitchen appliances, outdoor power equipment, and more. Shop Lowe's today.
Jeff Graham.
Trotwood's coach. Okay.
Trotwood, yeah. Trotwood coach Jefferson County. And I always, I'm supposed to get out there later in the springtime. I'm going to come see him later in the spring. But I used to spend a lot of time when we played together at the Jets in Dayton, Ohio with him. I'm familiar with Bob Evans, as I always tease him. But, man, only good food place y'all got out there. Bob Evans.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Cincinnati Bengals pick up the 5th-year option on Joe Burrow. That just broke about maybe a half hour ago. Kev and I just discussed that. We'll open up the phone lines if you want to jump in on that, 518-1410. So let's continue talking quarterbacks in the NFL, and we'll cross over into college. Let's talk a little Ohio State Buckeyes and C.J. Stroud. So, I mean, my goodness, you want to talk about the ebbs and flows of draft season, off season, draft season, whatever. Not even a month ago, Kev, I was arguing with Shaw, rubbing it in, saying how right I was, or we were, about C.J. Stroud should go number 1 overall, and Shaw said there's no way he'll go number 1. And then everyone they were at C.J. Stroud's pro day, the Panthers were, and they were like, oh man, look at how the coaches, they just smile and beaming from ear to ear. Now all of a sudden, about a week ago, there's no chance. They've made up their mind. Bryce Young is the guy. That's who they're going with.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, odds came out today that Will Levis is the favorite to go number 1 overall. So just can we get to Thursday, please? But the reasons for C.J. Stroud are starting to become a little like it's hard. I get annoyed when Buckeye fandom media, like they pretend to be media until their fandom kicks in, and then they don't really comment objectively. And there's one thing I am, it's just super. Oh my gosh, there's never a time where I've been a homer on anything. No, but in all seriousness. So a lot of Buckeye media super upset, very upset with how C.J. Stroud has been depicted in the media and kind of, attacking his character, attacking his basically just destroying his entire draft profile. So that S2 test, it's a cognitive profile test. And apparently he scored like an 18% on this thing. And you got to give these guys credit. This is probably the first time since high school that they've taken a test on their own. I mean, come on, like, what are we doing here? But no, in all seriousness, people jumped on that and they said that, hey, that executives throughout the league, front office personnel, Kev, they've said that that's a huge red flag and to stay away. This isn't an opinion. It's been talked about on multiple shows. I've come across it on articles, including this one here from Sports Illustrated, saying that one executive said that scoring high on these tests does not guarantee that you will be an effective NFL player, but scoring low has always 100% equaled a quarterback not playing well in the National Football League. Now, again, that's frustrating. I don't have numbers here of what quarterbacks tested low to back that up. That seems to be a very open-ended statement. So I don't know what to do with that. But if that is the case, Kev, people keep saying that stuff is slander and that people are making things up about him. I agreed. But with this, and I think it's really silly to use this test to dictate this, but it is what it is. It's the reality of it. At least now we're being told of, okay, here's why. And now we still don't like it. So now we're still angry. Your thoughts on this entire CJ Stroud situation and how much stock should we put into those S2 and the Wonderlic scores and all that type of stuff?
You should put a lot of stock into the S2 test, especially for quarterbacks. The S2 test, especially for the quarterbacks, it talks about processing and how fast you process the information. And that's one of the things that I said about Bryce Young. Seems like he sees the game a lot faster than CJ Stroud. Sometimes CJ Stroud takes a split second before he makes a throw, but he has so much arm talent and such a strong arm, he can put the ball there and it still gets there when it needs to get there, and all those type of things. At the college level, those aren't going to be there at the NFL level. And for me, the other part about it is, you know that you're going to take this S2 test, just like they do all the physical training, the bench press, running the 40, running routes and everything like that. You know you're going to take this S2 test. So all that time and prep you're putting in for the physical part and the going on the chalkboard and drawing up plays in the interview process, you're also training or preparing to take this S2 test as well. So let's just say he's aced every other part, the interview process, the background check, yada, yada, yada. If the reports are true that he scored an 18, he's failed this part. So for me, when you have this much time to prepare for something and you fail it, that's a problem for me. That will be a problem for me. You don't necessarily have to go out there and drop an 89 like Bryce Young, but a average score is something that I would expect from anybody that's preparing for this test.
For reference, again, Bryce Young, 98%. Will Levis, 84%. Anthony Richardson, 79%. Hendon Hooker, 46%. And they talk about Hendon Hooker would be the guy that everyone's beating up on over his score. But CJ Stroud's is so bad that he makes Hendon Hooker's score look forgivable to teams around the league. And that they talk about how Hendon Hooker, that score would not be that's almost unforgivable as well. But because of how bad CJ's score is, so that the executive, the anonymous executive, I hate this time of year, but Stroud scored an 18. The executive told Sports Illustrated that is like red alert, red alerts. You cannot take a guy like that. That is why I have Stroud as a bust. That in conjunction, and here's my that in conjunction with the fact, name one Ohio State quarterback that's what they've done in the league. Again, I don't like these reasons, but there's something tangible. But the Ohio State thing, Justin Fields, Dwayne Haskins, Braxton Miller, who named the guy. And Braxton didn't play quarterback in the league. I get that, but it doesn't matter. The point is they have nothing to do with this.
Right.
Nothing to do with this. So,
that's the one that I really get upset with. You talk about position at a school, and you know what? There's changeover. Not only on coaching staff, there's changeover on scheme, everything like that. So like that one angers me. And I think that is like one of the stupidest things I've ever heard, that, oh man, no quarterback from that school has done this. No running back from this school has done that. Well, what does that have to do with me? So that's like saying, hey man, if you went to, I don't know, name your local high school in town and they tell you, well, nobody's ever got a D1 scholarship out of that high school. So what that got to do with me? What that got to do with me? It's about me. It's not about them.
Very valid.
It's not about them. It's about what I'm doing, what I'm accomplishing, what I'm showing you on film, what I'm doing on the chalkboard, what I'm doing in the interview process. So you go in there, you knock it out the park in the interview process. Hey, man, but you know what? Way back in 1995, man, Joe Germain, he did terrible at the interview process. Can't trust those Ohio State quarterbacks. That has absolutely nothing to do with it. But the S2 test, they have valid points on that. They have absolute valid points on that.
You know, Tua is a very good NFL quarterback from Alabama. But people, you know, would they give Ohio State the same benefit of the doubt if Justin Fields was just pretty good? And I think he is pretty good, but like they're still the jury's out on him. And I bring this up because you could even make the, Jalen Hurts rolled Tide, but it was that year at Oklahoma that's what propelled him into being an NFL quarterback. They don't do this with Alabama, and Alabama and Ohio State are very similar. They've always been dominant programs who just recently in the last decade were smart and started buying more into the pro style offenses and the NFL style offenses. And it's not a coincidence that that's when those two programs, well, they didn't really take off. They've always been where they're at, but their offense, they've just become more modern with their offense. And that started at the tail end of Urban Meyer, coincidentally enough, with Ryan Day coming in as offensive coordinator. Started with, post JT Barrett going right into Haskins and Justin Fields and now CJ Stroud. And the expectations could be super high for whoever the quarterback is there. But yeah, I found this interesting. And like I said, when they said it's not, so does the low score guarantee that Stroud will in fact be a failure in the NFL? According to this executive, yes, it is now 100% fact that Stroud will be a bust.
Wow.
That is just, again, wild to me. So earlier today on ESPN's either Get Up or First Take, again, one of the, many shows, but RG3 had this to say about his thoughts on the draft stock of CJ Stroud.
When did CJ Stroud become a guy that was going to drop outside of the top 2 or 3 into the top 10? This guy was arguably going to be the number 1 pick in the draft just a couple weeks ago. So whoever's putting out all these rumors and all these stories, you got to take it with a grain of salt because it is 100% lying season when you get this close to the draft.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing too. And then some people come out and say some of these scores have been fabricated.
Right, exactly.
And it's like, so now again, it's lying season. So is that the truth? Were these scores leaked and that's the truth? Or were these scores fabricated? Is that the truth?
Right.
Is the scores that were leaked, is that the truth? I mean, like, so again, we want the truth that's going to make us feel better about our guy. People like to use, okay, well, Ryan Day came out and defended him and said that he's blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no offense, but what's Ryan Day supposed to say? Actually, no, this kid, I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did here. I mean, he couldn't even spell his own name. I mean, what is he supposed to say? By the way, Ryan Day's not lying.
And he played great under Ryan Day.
Yes.
My thing about the CJ Stroud thing is what has an Ohio State quarterback ever done in the NFL? That angers me. And then the other line is, well, look at all the talent he had around him. Every quarterback that plays at your Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, USC, they had a ton of talent around them. Yes, this year impressed me about Bryce Young. He didn't have an NFL wide receiver, but you know what he had the year before when he won the Heisman? 2 NFL wide receivers. So like they always got talent. You're not out here just winning on a whim. Like the guys, I understand what they're trying to say, but I like a guy like a Ben Roethlisberger going back 20 years, but he coming from a small school. He was the engine behind that. He's a guy out there making the NFL throws. I understand that. But to knock a guy because, he dares to throw to a Marvin Harrison Jr. or throw to a JSN. Hey, man, like that's part of the reason you come to Ohio State, because you're playing with great talent. He's not the only other quarterback out here playing with a ton of great talent around him. I mean, look at USC. They got the Biletnikoff winner to come to their school. They got 2 wide receivers that went over 1,500 yards in the transfer portal this year coming to USC. So what? Caleb Williams next year? Look at all these guys that he had to play with. I mean, he's not that good. I mean, of course, anybody could do that. No, that's not the case.
And a lot of this it's been beefed up even more because there was the trend in the NFL where, okay, if you have all these weapons around you, that's why we don't want you. We want guys that were really good where they're at with less weapons. And now this is going to be the most talent that they play with, and we're going to get more out of them. Well, how's that worked in San Francisco with Trey Lance. Now, you
Right.
could bring up Brock Purdy, and that's fine, but Trey Lance, Malik Willis, who the Titans, a year ago at this time, by the way, there was talk of potentially Pittsburgh looking at Malik Willis, if you remember that time. But Malik, 0 touchdowns, quite a few interceptions, and all this stuff last year. Report came out today that they've basically kind of given up on him. So you went after those guys with the idea, and even Carson Wentz, that was another one. Carson Wentz had that really good year, and then everyone's like, see, this is why we go after the guys at the smaller schools that could still play at this level. Well, now Carson Wentz his career just nosedived.
Mhm.
Trey Lance hasn't worked out. Malik Willis hasn't worked out. It's like, so you pick it, you can't, what are we doing here? Is it that you're good because you don't have people around you, or are you not good because you have too many people around you? It doesn't make any sense as far as that's concerned. Other news and notes out of the draft, Kev, how about this one? Multiple NFL scouts and evaluators reportedly believe Hendon Hooker will not make it out of the first 20 picks.
Wow.
Hooker said in a recent interview that he should be the first quarterback taken in the draft. Well, good for him. But the Titans, Buccaneers, and Vikings have been most commonly linked to Hooker. And again, the reason is because all three of those teams have something in common. For one, Hendon Hooker is a quarterback that you're not drafting to play right away. He needs to come in and play behind another quarterback. For one, he's coming off of a big-time injury. How healthy will he be by training camp, all that? But, Kev, it doesn't surprise me. The Titans, Buccaneers, Vikings, what do they all have in common? The Titans have Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
They're not marrying him long-term. They're probably done after this year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers brought in Baker Mayfield. Baker could be their guy for a year while Hendon Hooker, recovers and start of next year. And then the Vikings with Kirk Cousins, that marriage ain't going to be sticking together much longer either, especially if Justin Jefferson and company is out and they're going to go the full rebuild mode. So it doesn't surprise me that those three teams are the teams that are looking at Hendon Hooker teams. Because that's the other thing. Some of those teams are linked to CJ Stroud, but Kev, you draft CJ Stroud to not play him? Come on. Like that, you're not taking Stroud to sit him behind somebody. Stroud's the kind of guy you bring in and play right away. Hendon Hooker's the kind of guy you're bringing in, let him heal and see what happens. But I think that makes sense if that happens. That'd be wild though.
Yeah. I want to go back to this whole situation with he had so much talent around him.
Yep.
So let's think about this. Tua, he had his last year at Alabama, he had Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, all first-round picks. And Najee Harris, a first-round pick running back. So this notion that, oh man, he plays at Ohio State, he has all these wide receivers. So did Tua and Mac Jones. He had Devontae Smith, John Mechie, Jalen Waddle. They all got talent. That's the point. That's the point. Play with talent, so your talents can be on full display.
Yeah, and again, you could always. There's enough on both sides to convince yourself to take someone and not take someone. Oh, Bryce Young, super smart, great athleticism, very accurate, but man, he's small. I don't want him.
Right.
We could do this, but there's not a perfect prospect out there. So coming across something you don't like all of a sudden, it just drives me nuts as far as that's concerned. When you think about it, Anthony Richardson, like last year, people high on him because of his build. They're ignoring everything else. Lost 6 games last year at Florida. CJ Stroud lost 6 games at Ohio State. Are we talking about him being a top draft pick? No. All right. Will Levis threw for 200 yards once in SEC play last year against in the SEC, the best conference in football, right? NFL talent all over. You're judged for how you perform against those guys. He threw for 200 plus yards once in SEC play last year. CJ Stroud, back-to-back Heisman finalist. Kev, great statistically, great size, everything you want. A winner, as people like to say, which always cracks me up, as opposed to the other guys who lose and like to lose. But my point is it's wild to me. We're splitting hairs here. We're past the splitting hairs part. You're just trying to convince yourself that CJ Stroud's not the guy, but I don't know. Doesn't make any sense.
Off the top of my head, Deshaun Watson, when he was at Clemson, he had Hunter Renfrow, he had Mike Williams, he had DeAndre Hopkins. You get the point here. It's a ton of talent. When you play with talent, you're going to ball out of control and you're going to put up gaudy numbers. And for me, the Will Levis thing, he had a way better junior season than he did senior season. We can equate that to, guys going pro, they're starting running back, they're being suspended, yada, yada, yada. I don't necessarily look at the win-loss thing in conference play or in college, especially when you're a Kentucky quarterback versus Ohio State quarterback. Obviously Ohio State is expected and going to win more games than Kentucky. It's the film. What do you see on film? So if a draft expert says they see X, Y, and Z on film, why they think that CJ Stroud isn't going to be a good quarterback, I have no other reason but to accept it because they see something that I don't see. But to say, oh, he's an Ohio State quarterback, they all stink, I wouldn't draft him. Oh, man, he's playing with a whole bunch of talent, he's going to stink, I don't want him. Those things I can't get behind. So you tell me you see something on film that says these are the things that are making me hesitate on him, or this S2 test, then I can get behind those things. All that other stuff doesn't mean anything to me.
Gordon Gross on Facebook says, I thought the creator of the S2 test came out and said some of the numbers being reported are not accurate. He didn't name names, but made it seem like a few may have retaken the test at a later date and had a score that wasn't complete. No, Gordon, we mentioned that a little bit ago. You're right. He did come out, but he never, he said that, but he didn't say whether it was Stroud's or not.
Right.
And I don't think he can. I don't know. The bottom line is I don't even think these scores are supposed to get out.
Exactly.
But they're out. And I didn't know if you could retake it. I talked about this with Keith Byers the other day, Kev. You said that you're Keith Byers, you're CJ Stroud, you're Bryce Young. Hey, you guys need to take this test. No, I'm good. Hey, you need to throw at this pro day. No, I'm not going to throw. Actually, hey, you need to run the 40. No, I'm not going to run the 40. Hey, you need to take this test. No, I'm not going to take that test. Why is it? I mean, I think it's silly, but apparently it's not. Apparently this test means a ton to these teams, and I just don't get it. I just don't.
Yeah, I understand where the teams are coming from, they want to see you throw. They want to see your athletic ability. They want to get you up on the chalkboards. They want to interview you. They want you to take this test. It's all a part of the process. I mean, not our job. Well, shoot, our job. You apply for another job in another city. They're going to want an air check. So, this is just part of it, and it's just a different form about it. Some people don't have to do air checks. Like a Colin Cowherd, I'm sure he doesn't have to do an air check. But me or you, we will have to do an air check. So in their case, when they're new and rookies and everything coming in, they're running a 40, they're doing all this type of stuff. There's a guy out there or guys in the NFL right now, free agents, they're not doing anything. All they're doing is signing their name on the dotted line after they take the physical. And you're not about to run me through all these drills. Go look at the tape that I just put out for the last 4 or 5 years of my career. That's my tape. You want me or not? We got the contract negotiations all worked out. Take the physical, sign my name on the dotted line. So for the rookies, I have absolutely no problem with them going through the gauntlet.
No, but that's what I'm saying is if we have to rank what is the most important to these teams, I thought the 40 was very important, but there's guys that opt to not run the 40.
Right.
There are guys
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
So they opt not to throw at the combine. There's some quarterbacks no, if I throw, you're just going to find something.
I think that would be bigger news if it comes out he denied to take the S2 test. Whatever they if you take it and you do great, like a Bryce Young, a 98%, it's going to be headline news. You do terrible, like CJ Stroud allegedly did with 18, it's going to be headline news. Nobody's talking about Anthony Richardson doing 78 or 80 because that's a good score. That don't blow. That's not going to get any clicks. That's not going to draw any interest. You did good. That's not. You did great or you did horrible. So if you say you're not going to do the test, that's going to be hey man, Kenner, he didn't take the S2 test. He must be scared or something. He must not be able to do it.
I know I would score bad. By the way, I'm being 1,000,000% honest. It took me when I took tests. It took me forever. I had to reread the question multiple times. I don't care. You guys can make fun of me all you want. I don't care. I went to college, got a college degree. You make fun of me all you want. I don't care. My point is I would be nervous and hesitant to take it. And let's not act, and again, not throwing shade at athletes, but they're students first. That's cute. It's adorable. Sometimes and I know some things. I'm not saying Ohio State. I'm not naming athletes. There are athletes that sometimes don't have to take their own tests.
Right.
Maybe this is the first time you sit down and actually have to fill something out yourself that's not your name and where you grew up and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Bottom line is I don't care about the 18. CJ Stroud could play football. And it's going to be, that first quarterback that hits in the league, that's a Buckeye. And all the teams that passed up on him because he's a Buckeye,
right,
they're going to look really silly. And that could be the same thing with Justin Fields in Chicago this year because they've spent money. They're putting talent around him. It could be a CJ Stroud, Justin Fields year. We're laughing at everyone else, or the laughing will continue with fingers being pointed at Ohio State quarterbacks. Who knows? But I do think this matters, by the way. I do think the success of CJ Stroud matters to recruiting at Ohio State, Kev, because whether it's right or wrong, if the league is telling quarterbacks, you go to Ohio State, we don't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
That's dangerous out on the recruiting trail.
But this conversation's been going on since the 80s.
Yeah, but there hasn't been enough quarterbacks that have had the success that these dudes have had as of late to match it up. If you're any top quarterback prospect out there that's coming here. Man, I can be a Heisman finalist 2 years in a row. I can maybe win a Heisman and still not be good enough because I'm a Buckeye. Or maybe it is a Buckeye thing. I don't know, man. Like maybe it is.
You mentioned the test thing that you took a long time. For me, if I zip through a test, I did good. If I stay and take a long time on the test, I normally did bad. It's kind of like I read the question, I know it. I read the question, I know it. If I read the question and I don't know it, So like normally when I was taking tests, I was in and out.
Yeah.
I'll be like one of the first ones out the room. Like, I'm gone. And people like looking at me like, I'm good. I knew it. Times that I'm sitting there like, oh, my God. Biting my nails. I'm like, oh, goodness. Oh, no. This is not good. That's when I knew I was going to do bad.
Gordon Gross says, Kev, it doesn't matter if Bryce Young scored well if he can't see over his offensive line. Exactly. Last Buckeye thing here before we wrap up this hour. We're talking about which, 3 Buckeyes going to go in the first round, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, CJ Stroud, and Paris Johnson. But we assume that it's going to be CJ Stroud, the first Buckeye taken off the board. But it sounds like the Cardinals might sit tight at 3. For one, they're not getting teams aren't eagerly trying to move up to that 3 spot, which is wild.
Mm-hmm.
And that if it's not the case, the report I read today is that Paris Johnson is who. I mean, again, they have their quarterback. Like that's why they're comfortable. I think that's why the Bears were like, you know what, we don't need this pick. We can get more out of it. But the Cardinals should have traded it a long time ago, by the way. But Paris Johnson could be the first Buckeye taken off the board, which is just wild to me.
Yeah.
No shot at him, but that's how quickly CJ Stroud has just continued to plummet draft stock wise.
It's not a sexy position until you need one, an offensive lineman. Did I tell you ran into Paris Johnson when I was at the spring game?
Oh no. Big baller, you did not. I was just hanging out with Ryan Day as of late. Paris Johnson. I mean,
huge.
Share with us. No.
He's huge. But no, it really rung out because, at the spring game, that's a chance for, fans to really be out there and get kind of closer to players, because you go to a shoe on a normal game, like they're dialed in. They're not looking into the stands and everything like that. So kids are taking pictures with, Marvin Harrison Jr. and the other, big time Buckeyes and everything like that. Paris Johnson just walking across the sideline. Consensus All-American, about to be, potentially a first. It's going to be a first-round pick, top 5 pick. Nobody's saying a word to him. So I started thinking to myself, I was like, I changed my mind. I don't want to be a backup quarterback when I grow up. I want to be an offensive lineman. Nobody talks to me. I can live my life. He could go to the mall and people not even know who he is and enjoy his life. You think Marvin Harrison Jr. can go up to Easton or whatever mall in Columbus and get to a store without people hounding him? Paris Johnson can.
Do O-linemen get hot chicks?
When they see that bank account. And according to the young lady I saw him with, yes.
Yes, okay, that's all I need to know.
Yes.
If you think offensive lineman, you just think of heavy set dudes. I don't know how heavy set dudes in the market. Now, you're probably saying, Kenner, you're heavy set. I became heavy set after I met my wife. So, anyways. Gotta be careful nowadays. You never know who you'll offend. So I'm just gonna stop
remind me of my brother.
Right, yeah. Anyways, Kenner and Kev, 1410 at Wing AM. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants and stuff.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.